leave a lantern burning at dawn. The warning. By the 12th morning, I noticed the light had changed. It wasn't just the color, though. It had gone from gold to something thinner, like bone soaked in brine. It was the way it touched the deck, hesitant, as if the sun itself was afraid to cross the threshold. That was when Mina told me about Rule 6. We were in the galley, the lantern still burning above us. She was scraping salt from the kettle, her movements slow, deliberate. At dawn, she said, every lantern goes out, no matter what. He blinked. Even if we're still in fog, she didn't look up. Especially then. I waited for the rest. Mina had a way of letting silence do the talking. Finally, she said, if it's still burning when the sun comes up, they'll see it. I asked who. She paused, then blew out the flame. The room darkened instantly. They're not the water keepers, she said. Not the drowned. They're older, hungrier, and they don't knock. That night, the fog returned. It rolled in fast, thick as wool, swallowing the horizon in minutes. The captain ordered the lanterns lit early. We'll need the light, he said. Visibility's gone. I was on deck duty. I lit the port lantern myself, watching the flame catch and flare. It burned steady, casting a warm circle that felt too small for the dark pressing in around it. The smell came next. Not rot, not brine. Something sweeter, like fruit left too long in the sun. It clung to the back of my throat, made my eyes water. I stayed on deck until my shift ended, then went below, the scent still in my nose. I woke to shouting. When I stumbled back onto the deck, the fog was thicker. The lanterns glowed like dying stars. The one by the port rail, was flickering wildly, as if something were moving in front of it. Jorge was there, trying to snuff it out. But every time he reached for it, the flame flared brighter, hotter, until he had to pull his hand back. Get the captain, he yelled. By the time the captain arrived, the sky was paling. The first smear of dawn was bleeding into the fog. Cut it down, he said. Jorge hesitated. It's still... Cut it down. Jorge took his knife and slashed the rope holding the lantern. It fell, swinging, and smashed against the deck. The flame went out instantly. The fog thinned. The smell faded. Later, in the galley, I asked Mina what would have happened if the lantern had stayed lit. She didn't look up from her mug. They'd have come aboard, she said. Who? I asked again. She met my eyes. The ones who follow the light. 2 days after Jorge cut the lantern down, we found the first feather. It was lying on the deck near the bow, long and black, slick with moisture. Not gull feather. Not anything I'd seen before. It shimmered faintly in the morning, light green, purple, blue like oil on water. Mina picked it up with a rag and dropped it overboard without a word. The captain doubled the watch that night. No one asked why. We'd learned not to. The fog returned on the 15th night. Thicker this time. It didn't roll in, it settled, like something had laid itself across the sea. The smell came with it again. Sweet, metallic, wrong. I was on lantern duty. I checked each flame, made sure they burned steady. The port lantern was dimmer than the others, though the wick was fresh. I adjusted it, but the flame refused to brighten. It pulsed, like it was breathing. Mina came up beside me, her eyes scanning the fog. If you see them, she said, don't look too long. They don't like to be counted. I asked what she meant. She didn't answer. It was near dawn when I saw the first shape. At first, I thought it was a gull, gliding low over the water, but it was too big. Its wings were too long, too thin, and its head was wrong. It turned toward the lantern. The flame flared. I stepped back. The shape vanished into the fog. Later, in the galley, I told Mina what I'd seen. She didn't react, just stirred her tea. They're testing the light, she said, seeing if it's meant for them. I asked what they were. She looked at me, and for a moment, I saw something in her eyes I hadn't seen before. Not fear, resignation. They're the ones who never made it to shore, she said. Not drowned, not dead, just waiting. That night, the fog came earlier. The lanterns burned brighter, but the light felt thinner, like it was being stretched. I stayed on deck past my shift, watching the port side. The shape returned. This time, it didn't vanish. It hovered just beyond the rail, wings outstretched, head tilted. I couldn't see its face, only the suggestion of one. Too smooth, too still. The flame flared again, and then it spoke. Not aloud, not in my ears, in my head. "Leave it burning," it said. "Let us see." I stepped back. My heart was hammering. I turned to call for Mina, but she was already there, watching. "Don't answer," she said. "I didn't," I whispered. She nodded. "Good. They don't ask twice." On the 17th night, the fog came before sunset. It didn't roll in like before. It rose thick and slow, like something exhaling from the sea itself. The air turned syrupy. Breathing felt like swallowing. The captain ordered every lantern lit, then checked each one himself. He didn't speak, just moved from flame to flame, watching how they burned. They all flared too bright. Not warm, not golden, white hot, like magnesium. I stood beside Mina at the stern. She was watching the horizon, but there was no horizon to see. Just fog, just light, just that smell, sweet, metallic, cloying. "They're close," she said. I asked if it was the ones who follow the light. She shook her head. "Not yet, but they're watching. At midnight." The lanterns began to change. The flames pulsed, not randomly in rhythm. A slow, steady beat, like a heartbeat, like a signal. The captain barked orders. "Douse them. All of them." We tried. The flames wouldn't die. Water didn't work. Snuffers didn't work. Even cutting the fuel lines did nothing. The lanterns kept burning, brighter now, casting long, unnatural shadows across the deck. One shadow moved. Not with the wind, not with the crew. It slithered across the boards, long and thin, like a wing dragging behind something unseen. I stepped back. Mina grabbed my arm. "They're testing the threshold," she said, trying to cross. The crew gathered mid-deck, away from the lanterns. The captain stood at the bow, his face pale, his voice low. "They want the light," he said. "But they can't take it unless it's still burning when the sun rises." "What happens if they do?" someone asked. He didn't answer. Instead, he drew a circle on the deck with salt. "Stay inside," he said. "Don't speak. Don't move. Don't look." The knocking began at 3:17 a.m. Not on the hull, on the lanterns. Each one rang out like a bell, a sharp metallic tap, one by one, in sequence. Then the voices came. Not in our ears, in our heads. They didn't whisper. They didn't plead. They sang. A low, droning melody, like whale song filtered through broken glass. It vibrated in my teeth, in my bones. I clutched the salt circle. Mina was beside me, eyes closed, lips moving silently. A prayer, maybe, or a name. The captain stood outside the circle, facing the lanterns. He didn't blink. At 4:42 a.m., the first lantern shattered. Not from impact, from pressure. The flame flared, then burst a white explosion that lit the fog like lightning. Something moved in the flash. Wings, eyes, teeth. The captain staggered back. "They're crossing," he said. The second lantern shattered at 4:57 a.m. It didn't explode like the first. It simply went out, the flame snuffed mid-pulse, as if something had pinched it between two fingers. The glass remained intact. The wick was untouched, but the light was gone. And with it, the protection. The fog surged forward, thick and fast, like a wave that didn't break. It rolled over the deck, swallowing the salt circle, swallowing the crew. I couldn't see Mina anymore. I couldn't see the captain. I couldn't see myself. The voices returned, not singing this time, speaking, clear, cold. "You lit the way. You opened the door. You owe us." I tried to move, but my limbs felt distant, like they belonged to someone else. I felt pressure on my chest, not pain, not weight, a presence, something leaning in. Then I saw it, not with my eyes, with something deeper, a shape, tall, winged. Its face was a blur, but its mouth was clear, wide, lipless, full of teeth that shimmered like lantern glass. It didn't smile. It didn't blink. It waited. "You can choose," it said. I tried to speak. My throat burned. You can give us the flame, it said, or give us the one who lit it. I didn't understand. Then I saw Jorge. He was standing at the edge of the deck, arms limp, eyes wide. The third lantern, the one he'd relit after the captain's order, burned beside him. Bright, defiant. The creature turned toward him. George didn't move. They want him, Mina said. She was beside me again, her voice low, her face pale. They want the one who kept the light. I looked at Jorge. He was shaking now, whispering something I couldn't hear. The creature stepped forward. I moved without thinking. I grabbed the lantern and smashed it against the rail. The flame died. The fog recoiled. The creature paused. Then it turned to me. You chose, it said, and vanished. The fog thinned with the first true light of dawn. The deck was slick with moisture. The lanterns were cold. Jorge was on his knees, sobbing. The captain stood at the bow, silent. Mina lit a match and dropped it into the sea. For what we almost gave, she said. I didn't sleep that day. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw that mouth, that choice. And I knew the rules weren't just protection. They were currency.